Hey, movie lovers, this is Kyle, host and producer of the Movie Wars podcast. We're not just a movie review podcast. There's plenty of those. On Movie Wars, a panel of stand-up comedians blends humor with deep film analysis using their unique war card system to grade movies across key categories. Each episode delivers thoughtful insights and spirited debate, offering a fresh comedic take on film analysis. New episodes drop every Thursday on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. Deeply researched, gut-wrenchingly funny, you'll love Movie Wars.
Movie Wars.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon.
And this is Collateral Cinema. Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, be it bongs, blunts, or joints, smoke it if you've got it. And welcome to a very special episode. This time we're actually doing technically an episode of a TV series. Not the first time we've done that, but this is the 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who. So I felt like it was appropriate. We could have done the 1990s TV movie, but I haven't seen that and I haven't heard that it's very good. So, but the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, guys, this is actually my favorite episode of Doctor Who, so I'm really excited to get into it with y'all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's actually interesting for me because Doctor Who has always been kind of a little bit of a blind spot for me when it comes to like science fiction or fantasy or anything like that. So, I mean, I'd like to think that, you know, this was probably a pretty decent entrance point into this particular franchise. I mean, I really like the fact that, I mean, you have pretty much two of the better modern doctors in here. You have the 10th and 11th Doctor, and then to have John Hurt come in as a special doctor that pretty much was created just for this particular continuity and everything. That was really interesting. I really like this.
Yeah. So I'm a super Doctor Who fan. I've been watching the show since, actually around the time this came out. I was watching Series 7, which was Matt Smith's third season. That's around the point that I caught up with Who. And when I say that, I mean modern Who. I've started watching the classic series, starting with the first Doctor, but I haven't watched all of it. Most of my Doctor Who knowledge is the modern Who stuff. So a lot of those classic Who fans that might be listening might scoff at it. I'm sorry. I'm working my way through the old series, but I'm being thorough and actually starting at the beginning. But yeah, Doctor Who is one of those franchises that is actually kind of another special interest of mine. And I mean, I like a lot of sci-fi. You guys know, I mean, I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars. Doctor Who is that one sci-fi show that I think just came and just like flew over both of those for me and just sort of like took on a whole identity. And I've been watching the show since, around 2012, 2013. And I was super hyped for the 50th anniversary special. I remember because David Tennant is my Doctor. He's my favorite. And at the time, Matt Smith was a close second because he's in a lot of ways very similar to David Tennant. And this was the return of David 3 years after he left the show. And this was super, super anticipated. This was actually also right at the peak of Doctor Who's popularity. This was when the show was actually kind of getting mainstream. And I remember going to school and like meeting classmates who were talking about it. So yeah, it was a super cool time to be a Doctor Who fan back in 2013. This special appeals to, both the modern Doctor Who and the classic Doctor Who fans. That being said, it's definitely for a 50th anniversary special. It's definitely focused on the 2005 series, I will say.
Yeah, that is something that I kind of saw as a little bit of a complaint on some of the YouTube reviews that I was watching earlier, is that for what's supposed to be this celebration of 50 years of Doctor Who, there just wasn't a whole lot of classic Who in it.
Yeah.
It was a lot more like modern Doctor Who that was being referenced, even though from what I understand, there was quite a few Easter eggs hidden throughout, but
yeah, there are a lot of Easter eggs. Lots of different references. I mean, even opening up, starting with that original Doctor Who First Doctor intro. I mean, that was really cool. I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely, and then that was kind of interesting because I mean, I've never actually seen the any of the classic series, and I mean, I'm aware of it enough to know that there's quite a bit of it that's still missing, that's lost media and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, actually, kind of going back to that first intro, and even that one school right there is actually one of the first shots in the series, right?
Yeah, at the Cold Hill High School, which is where the Doctor's original two companions, who were more than anything kind of just sort of kidnapped, and then the Doctor couldn't pilot the TARDIS correctly to get them home for like 3 years.
Oh, wow. Goddamn.
Ian and Barbara, yeah. And interestingly enough, Clara, Matt Smith's current companion at the time, has also become a teacher at Coal Hill High School. So I thought that was a neat little callback.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was definitely a really nice touch. When we had last seen Clara, she was not a school teacher, so it's unclear exactly how much time has passed by. In fact, the episode that leads into this, which was the Series 7 finale, The Name of the Doctor, kind of just ends on what seems like a cliffhanger, and then it's kind of just resolved here. I did think that was weird because it's like, okay, he's going to jump into his time stream and he's going to get her out. Oh, well, I guess he got her out. But the end of that episode was just mind-blowing because nobody knew what was coming. We knew that Matt Smith was soon regenerating. In fact, this episode, the aforementioned The Name of the Doctor, and the following episode, the Time of the Doctor, kind of form a sort of trilogy that is the 11th Doctor's swan song. So it had been announced that he was regenerating into Peter Capaldi, and that this was the end. He did 3 seasons and then some specials, which is kind of the standard tenure now. But John Hurt just showing up at the end of The Name of the Doctor was crazy because we were like, well, who the fuck is this? Because we know that there's 11 of them. Mm-hmm. So, like, what is this Doctor doing here? Where does he fit in the timeline? Is he pre-Hartnell? Is he like a future incarnation? Or, as some suspected, is he the Doctor that took place in the Time War, which previously we had assumed was either the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, or the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. Now, from what I understand, Eccleston was actually originally supposed to appear in this special. And there are some parts of the script, I think, where you could maybe kind of see that. But Eccleston infamously has some beef with the BBC, so he declined to return. And I think he came back later and said that actually he was happy that he didn't because he felt that what we got was a better product. So instead they invented this new secret incarnation that took place between the 8th and 9th Doctors because we had never seen that regeneration televised. And that was played by the late, great John Hurt. John motherfucking Hurt, man. And what a great addition to the cast he is. I mean, to just invent a doctor like this in such a short time and blow everyone's minds, and then also just become so beloved, so endearing in this short amount of time. And I'm actually really sad that we'll never get a chance to see him in the role again. I don't know if he ever went back and did some of the audio dramas. I don't really listen to those, but man, I could use some more War Doctor.
Seriously, man, he was really a highlight of this episode for me. Like, especially when he actually started interacting with the 10th and 11th Doctors and everything. Like, especially when it came to that scene in the Tower of London. Yes. When they were imprisoned there. And, you know, just them kind of really coming to this realization that even though they are very much at different stages of their lifetimes, I mean, they're still the same person. They're just, you know, they're just kind of approaching the time war from different perspectives.
Same software, different case.
Yeah, one's from a perspective of regret. The other one's from a perspective of, you know, having just moved on and whatnot, you know? So,
which itself is kind of a nod to the fact that when Stephen Moffat took over the show with Matt Smith taking over as the 11th Doctor, they kind of dropped most mentions of the Time War, which permeated the Russell T. Davies, Christopher Eccleston, and David Tennant run of the show. The Time War sort of just became sort of a, okay, we'll sort of briefly mention or indirectly mention that this happened, but not really touch on it. But Stephen Moffat decided to actually kind of go all in with this and actually show what happened with the Time War, which was built up as sort of this like mysterious event that took place between the classic and the modern series. It wiped out all of the Time Lords and Gallifrey and the Daleks, or so we thought. But I mean, both the Daleks and the Time Lords end up returning again and again. But yeah, this huge event that was built up that apparently took place across space and time. The Doctor wiped out both of his races, and for some people, maybe keeping it a mystery was kind of to its benefit. But for what glimpse that we got out of the Time War in this show, I think that Stephen Moffat really did a good job showing, you know, just here is the very end of the conflict. Here are the people that were directly involved in this on Gallifrey. I thought it was really cool, and it adds sort of this very blockbuster cinematic feel to this particular episode, which was again a huge event. I mean, this was being shown in theaters.
Plus the whole Time War on Gallifrey, when you get into the actual these actual three characters and how they actually interact with it, I mean, it's really just about them just kind of coming to terms with the choice that they had to make, and then ultimately being able to undo that choice. Yes, you know.
Yeah, while still maintaining, you know, the fixed point in time and the Doctor's own personal history, because he doesn't remember any of this.
Exactly.
In fact, I believe even the 11th Doctor doesn't maintain the recollection of the events, just a general feeling that Gallifrey is out there. But he doesn't actually remember saving it, and definitely not 10th or the War Doctor, who would then freshly regenerate into Christopher Eccleston. And if you watch the pilot episode of the 2005 series, there's a shot of there's a scene where Eccleston is examining himself in the mirror, like he's looking at his face for the first time. So it did sort of fit that maybe he wasn't actually the one that took part in the Time War, but the face that just, you know, is dealing with the outcome of events. Again, sad that we didn't get to see Eccleston return, because I really, really love Eccleston. I think he's an underrated Doctor. He only got a single season, and he should have had more. But I mean, again, John Hurt is a welcome addition. Just the way that he plays off of these characters, because as I've said, the 10th and 11th Doctors are very similar in personality, and I think that was kind of necessary because David Tennant was such a popular version of the Doctor. I mean, he's right up there with Tom Baker's fourth Doctor. That you know, fans were really sad to see him go. You know, whenever he delivers that iconic line during his regeneration, "I don't want to go," which he repeats in this special as his last line. we were all like staring at it teary-eyed because we didn't want to see him go either. So the only thing they could do was replace him with another handsome young guy that has kind of a similar disposition. I see the 10th Doctor as more kind of a romantic, whereas Matt Smith is a little bit more goofy. With a lot of the Doctor's, core personality traits, his intelligence, his eccentricity, but juxtapose that with John Hurt's version of the Doctor, which maybe might kind of hail back to earlier versions that maybe might have dispositioned themselves a bit more seriously, some more than others. The Doctors have always kind of went up and down between goofy and serious, and that continues into future incarnations from here. But here we just kind of have this very weary character who has battled for hundreds of years in the Time War, probably. The Doctor's age is a whole point of contention. He says he's 800 years old here or 900 years old, and it doesn't really match with some lines from the classic series. But then there's that throwaway line where he's like, well, the Matt Smith says I'm 1200 years old, but I don't know if that's my actual age or I'm lying about it. Anyway, going on a tangent here, the way that John Hurt plays off of, the way that David Tennant and Matt Smith play off of each other, we'll touch on that later, but the way that John Hurt also, plays with them, there's just so much chemistry, and it's what makes this character so endearing, because we just kind of got this posh, gravelly grandpa figure, and even though the two of them look at him with disgust, even though they kind of want to forget who he is, there's still sort of this underlying need to appear serious and for him to take them seriously as future incarnations, almost like they're sort of looking for his approval. He's like, what are you gonna do, assemble a cabinet at them, or why are you pointing your screwdrivers? They're scientific instruments, not water pistols.
That's actually what's really interesting about John Hurt's iteration as the War Doctor and how he interacts with the 10th and 11th Doctors, is that he's pretty much just lampshading all the silliness of the past two iterations of the Doctor. Yeah, just pretty much just kind of lightly mocking it a little bit, Yeah, it's like that really makes his character a little more endearing.
It does. It really does. I think it works to great effect here. And like I said, I just love it. He does comment on it. He's like, why do you, say words like timey-wimey? I love how David Tennant's like, I have no idea where he gets that from. And that was his line.
Of course he knows. He was the one that he got it from.
Yeah. But he even asks them, like, why do you insist on acting like children? And it's like, well, because we've done some serious shit. We had to be a fucking adult and, think that we actually had obliterated our own species. So, it's you could kind of see why the Doctor acts the way he does. And then later on, even sort of moves on and forgets because of just all the shit that's going on.
Yeah.
Of course, Moffat is infamous for having the Doctor really truly dying and not just regenerating as a recurring plot point. It's like, hey guys, this time he's really gonna die. It's gonna happen.
Damn.
But going back to Matt Smith and David Tennant, they're obviously, the stars of the show, the fan favorites. They've got all the little quirks and callbacks and all the little things. This whole episode is actually kind of a nostalgia fest, especially for modern Doctor Who fans. You've got the moment where they both put on their glasses and admire each other for it, and and then the size comparison with the screwdrivers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They actually kind of go there, and that's what makes John Hurt's sonic screwdriver kind of interesting, because his seems to be based on the classic design, is a little more basic. Yeah, a little more no frills than the other two.
Right. Exactly. And as mentioned before, there's a cool scene where they even kind of examine the idea that, the screwdriver is the same software in a different case, which is an analogy for the Doctor, of course, and a setup for a later scene where they end up, placing Gallifrey in a stasis cube. with calculations that would take hundreds of years. That's their excuse to bring in archival footage of every doctor that showed up. And actually, a early appearance of Peter Capaldi. For the first time, a doctor is shown on screen before his actual regeneration, which was interesting.
Yeah, the attack eyebrows.
The attack eyebrows, yes.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. I remember seeing that because we knew that Peter Capaldi was taking over, but it hadn't happened yet. So to get that little sneak peek was awesome. And yeah, just to get that scene where we have all of the doctors on screen together, archival footage or not, we get every doctor saying like their own little catchphrase. You know, David Tennant's like Alonzi, and Matt Smith's like Geronimo, and then John Hurt's just kind of fed up. He's like, for God's sakes, Gallifrey stands. Just tired of their bullshit, but also admiring the men that they are, and the fact that his regret having done what he did during the time war turned him into a different man, or men that was willing to find solutions to otherwise impossible questions, and impossible situations.
Damn. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's just kind of this synergy between them, and yeah, again, just the way they play off of each other is so satisfying and so fun. And a lot of people, I remember watching this at the time, felt like it was just kind of a nostalgia fest. Kind of some of the same complaints you hear about something like Spider-Man: No Way Home. In a lot of ways, this was like the Way Home of modern Doctor Who. It was a big deal. I mean, we'd had multi-Doctor specials in the classic series, but this was the first time we were doing it in the modern era with the modern Doctors. But you did hear some of those same complaints that like, okay, yeah, the story's not as good. It's just a nostalgia fest, but I don't care. I ate it all up. I loved it. It worked for me on the same level that something like No Way Home did, because, this is me having watched this for the last few years and just being really invested in it.
Yeah, and for me, like, once again, coming from somebody who is just now getting into Doctor Who, I mean, this was honestly perfect, because I mean, I got just the right amount of David Tennant's Doctor and Matt Smith's Doctor, and even got to see got to see a new Doctor that even other Doctor Who fans haven't really seen yet. So, I mean, so this was actually a pretty good little entry point for me, more or less.
It's an interesting entry point, that's for sure. I did want to show you guys a few episodes in advance just to sort of introduce you to the general premise, the characters, and some things. I selected 5 episodes. I think I picked all Stephen Moffat written episodes, actually, by chance. Which it was fitting, so. But a couple of 10th Doctor episodes, The Girl in the Fireplace, Blink, which is my other favorite, which a lot of people's favorite. We also watched The Snowman, and we watched Matt Smith's first episode, The 11th Hour, then The Snowman, then The Name of the Doctor. That was kind of my pick. I tried to show you guys episodes that were either just all-time favorites or were somewhat pertinent, or just a good introduction to certain characters. Let's make sure to throw in Clara and Rose, because they come back. Obviously Jenna Coleman as Clara returns. She's got she's over the past half season had built up, a lot of chemistry with Matt Smith, and that shows. And even the other doctors sort of kind of adore her in a way. There's that moment where both the War Doctor and the 10th Doctor basically kind of attribute the success of the situation to Clara.
Yeah. And I mean, isn't Clara kind of a slightly controversial character in the Doctor Who fan base a little bit because of the way that she was utilized?
Yeah.
Or am I mistaken?
Her whole Impossible Girl arc, and the way that it was sort of like resolved, and then the way that they answered that in the preceding episode, The Name of the Doctor, was a bit controversial. People felt like she was too important as a companion. Companions are supposed to just be links to the audience and just kind of be regular people and not be too important to the Doctor's life. And you'll see this trend in the modern series. I don't mind it so much. I love her character. I love the way she also plays off of Peter Capaldi later. They go to some interesting places with that too. And it's a whole different dynamic, because she sort of has this, romantic coded chemistry with the 11th Doctor, which gets turned on its head later. He's kind of a boyfriend figure, but it's never outright stated. That's the way that Billie Piper as Rose was for David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston. She was a fan favorite. A lot of people loved Rose. And so hearing that she was coming back for the special, I was really interested to see what they were going to do with it. Were they going to were they going to have David Tennant return from a point, like was his entry point in this special going to be when he was traveling with her? Well, as it turns out, it's not. Actually, in David Tennant's timeline, this is right towards the end of his run, but before the finale special. He talks about how he was basically like running away from his death. In fact, there's a line earlier in the end of time, his regeneration episode, where he mentions marrying Queen Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen.
Yeah.
So we got to see that televised here. And also, I want to this is another tangent, but we also got to see why she hates him so much, because there's an earlier episode in David Tennant's run where he meets an elderly Queen Elizabeth, but from his perspective, he's never met her before, and so he doesn't know why she hates him and why he's her worst enemy. So this actually answers it. He married her and then he never came back. That's why she hates him. So it was fun to kind of see that answered. We weren't sure we were going to get an answer to that. But anyway, going back, so the way that they bring Billie Piper back was actually really interesting. So the weapon that the Doctor uses to wipe out the Time Lords and the Daleks has a conscience. It has an interface that specifically chooses a form that it can't remember if it's from his past or his future. Well, it's his future, and it's actually not Rose Tyler, but the bad wolf version of Rose Tyler that stared into the time vortex and absorbed the energy of it. And I thought that was really cool. I liked that. That was an interesting way to bring that character in and still maintain the timeline of the character that they wanted.
Yeah, and also it's kind of interesting that the moment as a character is compelling, because it's a weapon, yet it seems to really want to try to discourage the War Doctor from actually pushing the button and utilizing it. It seems to be like just actively discouraging him from doing it.
Yes. I thought that was cool. That's like the whole premise, right? It's like, what kind of person would use a weapon that can stand judgment on you? It's like a weapon that doesn't want to be used. There's only one man that would try, right? The madman, the rogue. Time Lord that stole a TARDIS and ran away. He's always been at odds with the Time Lords, going back to the classic series. So, also cool to see the return of them. We get very little of them in the modern series, and they're prone to being wiped out. Because, I mean, we think that they're all saved here, and then, like, the Master just wipes them out later. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Doctor Who is kind of weird, but also, I don't know, Chris Chibnall is a controversial showrunner. The less we talk about that, the better. But anyway, the Day of the Doctor. What else do we have here? I mean, we have Murray Gold coming back to compose the soundtrack. He's a fan favorite. When he left during the Chris Chibnall era, he was sorely missed. I'm glad that both he and Russell T Davies returned for the latest iteration of the series, because, man, yeah, the soundtrack of this is great. They introduced some themes, actually, and I didn't know this at the time, but these themes would later be reused in other episodes, and I was surprised to find out that they were in the 50th special.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, credit to Murray Gold. Fantastic composer. He does a great job with the series. There's also another element of the series that kind of ties both the classic and modern eras is the existence of UNIT. So UNIT was this government faction going back to, the 70s and 80s that the Doctor worked with, particularly when John Pertwee, the third Doctor, was exiled on Earth. And we actually have the daughter of one of the classic companions that traveled with multiple Doctors, and that is Brigadier General Lethbridge Stewart, and his daughter, Kate Stewart, or Kate Lethbridge Stewart. She's a cool character. She had been introduced in an earlier Matt Smith episode, but she's a fun part of the plot here. It's interesting to see where they take her character as someone who's placed in a similar situation as the Doctor, having to make a calculation, to bomb nuke the city of London in order to save the Earth, much like the Doctor having to destroy Gallifrey and his own people to save all of reality.
Yeah. And the actual antagonists in this particular scenario are very interesting. The Zygons.
Yeah. Another classic villain. I love the way that they appear here. Still using the practical effects, but much, much, much better while still looking like their classic counterparts. You can definitely see the level of detail, in the costumes, and it looks really good.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how their shape-shifting abilities is kind of utilized within the plot of this show, like especially when you get towards the end and both the 10th and 11th Doctors are like, all right, we need to come to a solution over this stalemate like right away. So they basically wipe everybody's minds so that they don't know if they're Zygon or not, and they basically all have to work together. Yeah. Basically just out of a need for survival. So, I mean, it's kind of an interesting way to just kind of basically level the playing field and just kind of make it about, it's like, if we don't figure out a solution to this, we're just all going to die.
Yeah.
And it turns everything into like a mutual understanding.
Yeah, it was a brilliant plan that comes after a super badass moment where they managed to, make their entry into a TARDIS-proof room and prevent this whole thing. The same three men who in just an earlier scene had all sat around discussing how to calculate to disintegrate a door using their sonic screwdrivers without checking to see if it was actually locked.
Right. And then Clara just comes through the door and just saves them, and they just look at her like, God damn it.
It's a perfect encapsulation of who the Doctor is as a character, because he's just brilliant, but then there's just something that he's not even going to bother to check if the door is unlocked. And apparently the Moment doesn't think about it either, or maybe she just wants to implant the idea in their heads that they can work together to figure something out. Because like I said, that's a setup for a later scene where they end up saving Gallifrey. But that's also an interesting scene from the standpoint of, and then they mention this, but the Doctor talking to himself and what it's like whenever he's alone, and again, like you mentioned, Bo, the difference in their personalities while still maintaining the same memories.
Yeah
Right. But yeah, I mean, again, the core of this movie is just the way that these actors play off of each other, and just kind of getting to see the similarities and differences, and really just kind of getting some interesting exploration. It does pay homage to some of the earlier multi-Doctor specials. I mean, there's even lines that they reuse, like you've redecorated.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's always bigger on the inside, right?
Yeah, and I like when they pop into 10's TARDIS, and then the desktop themes change because the TARDIS is confused because it doesn't, because there's 3 different versions of them there, and so we kind of get to see the difference in the round things. I love the round things. What are the round things? No idea.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. That's his grunge phase. He grows out of
it. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's really interesting about the Doctor as a character, because every time he regenerates, he does, in essence, become a different person. And he sort of sees himself as the same person still, but there are clear differences in their personalities and even their tastes, as they sort of just kind of make fun of each other, and then their fashion choices and, regeneration, it's a lottery.
But that's what makes the War Doctors regeneration in that short that you showed me. What was it? The one with
Night of the Doctor. It was like a mini episode prequel to the Day of the Doctor. Yeah, and awesome because we finally get to see more Paul McGann. The only thing that we'd ever seen of Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor was the TV movie and some audio dramas. So being able, even though he doesn't show up in the 50th anniversary special proper, I'm glad that they did give him a little bit of screen time, even if only a few minutes, to kind of see what he was like at the end of his regeneration. And
yeah, but that's what makes his regeneration as the War Doctor interesting, is that his that regeneration is induced. He actually chooses to be a warrior. He tells the I forget what the sisterhood was called. The Sisterhood of Karn. Yeah, it's like he pretty much says, I need to be a warrior. Make me a warrior for this.
Yeah.
And that lady was just like, well, I have this concoction for you right here because I had a feeling you would say that. And that's what he regenerates into. Well, I mean, I think that there was didn't it briefly like feel like he was going to turn into Chris Eccleston, maybe? Very briefly?
I mean, I don't know if that was hinted at, because I mean, we already knew he was going to become John Hurt. I think just prior to the episode being announced, they did confirm that John Hurt was a secret incarnation between the 8th and 9th. And the way that works, by the way, is that the Doctor himself does not acknowledge that incarnation. So that's why he doesn't get a number. Yeah. And it also does kind of set up a plot point in Matt Smith's regeneration episode, because in Classic Who, it was established that Time Lords only have 12 regenerations. So we thought that 11 would have would have another regeneration in him, and that we would get at least 2 more incarnations of the Doctor up to number 13. But as it turns out, we have an extra, which is John Hurt, that was introduced, and then also David Tennant actually uses up a regeneration but doesn't change his appearance. There's an episode where that happens. And then the following episode, The Time of the Doctor, there was actually also this whole problem of having to solve how the Doctor would get more regenerations, and how we would get to see, because it had already been announced that Peter Capaldi was taking over, but now we had to answer the question of, well, how does he get more than 12 regenerations? And that's answered, and then that's thrown out the window later, because I guess Chris Chibnall has decided that the Doctor has always had infinite reincarnations or something. I don't know. The less I think about the timeless child, the better.
Right on.
I've been running all my life through time and space. Every second of every minute of every day for over 900 years. I fought for peace in a universe at war. Now the time has come to face the choices I've made in the name of the Doctor. Our future depends on one single moment of one impossible day. The day I've been running from all my life. The day of the Doctor.
But anyway, again, going on a side note here, my autism is showing. I really do like this extra version. I mean, in lieu of Eccleston coming back or McGann being involved in the episode, getting what we did get out was really, really good, and getting to have this whole different version. And once more, I just wish we'd had more of them. There's also one more hidden incarnation of the Doctor in this special that shows up at the end. This was another what moment that nobody like when it came out, nobody quite knew what was going on. But at the very end of the episode, the Doctor meets a figure known as the Curator, who is played by the great Tom Baker, who is, besides David Tennant, everyone's favorite Doctor. But he regenerated young. We never got to see, you know, why is Tom Baker here, and why is he old, and why does he seem to have knowledge of future events that the 11th Doctor isn't aware of, and is he the Doctor or not? Well, it was answered off screen later by Moffat that in fact, Tom Baker is playing a future incarnation of the Doctor who's simply revisiting an old face, something that we know the Doctor is capable of doing, as David Tennant later shows up again as the 14th Doctor, and the 12th Doctor's face as Peter Capaldi was actually taken from someone he encountered during his travels. So there's some level of at least subconscious choice here, or maybe a future version of the Doctor is fully capable of choosing his face. But I do like that within the context of the episode, they keep it ambiguous. You know, they're kind of like, you know, maybe you're me, or maybe I'm you, or it was a great moment, you know, and nobody really expected Tom Baker to come in because, as mentioned previously, this episode is mostly focused on the modern Doctor Who stuff, so it was a lovely surprise. I mean, I guess maybe that was the reason why they didn't include other Doctors and thus chose to take the focus off of them, is that they're all just too old. I mean,
probably.
You know, Paul McGann was really the only one they could have gotten away with showing, and then they did in a sense. But because we never saw him regenerate, but everybody else we saw regenerate young. Hell, even if you look at David Tennant, and this is only 3 years after he stepped off, to me he looked noticeably older.
Yeah, a little bit. You're not wrong.
You know, but
the round things.
Yeah, we're seeing it on the screen right now. Hey, look, the round things, the roundels. I love the round things.
Love them.
Oh God, I love Tennant and Smith so much. Just their youthful energy, it plays so well, especially off of each other. I mean, this was really just the interactions that we the fans wanted to see. This special is just such a love letter for the fans.
Oh yeah, Robert, which one's your favorite?
I like them both because I've seen them both in movies, you know.
Have sex.
Hell yeah, man. Have sex.
We were saying that like every time Matt Smith showed up on screen. We're like, have sex.
Have sex. I think I was
Have
playing
sex. Hell yeah, man.
I was playing this shit on
It's
YouTube,
like,
man. I was like,
he's the only one that can make more billions of dollars just by saying have sex.
Yeah. Also, apparently Matt Smith did a stage adaptation of American Psycho. He's also Skynet, right?
yeah, I was gonna say that he's Skynet too. He took over John Connor, right?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Oh, that's right.
Genesis
That's
is
right.
Skynet.
Genesis Skynet.
Holy shit. That's awesome.
And David Tennant, of course, showed up in Harry Potter. Jessica Jones, he's a fantastic villain in Jessica Jones.
Hell yeah. And he was also the most recent version of Scrooge McDuck in the new DuckTales.
Yes.
As well.
So what about it was like Peter Vincent and the new Fright Night, right? The remake?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah,
also the Fright Night remake. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
That was a good one, man.
Hell yeah.
The remake's not as bad, but we got to go back and watch the original.
No, you got to go with the OG. Yeah.
Even so, one recurring theme you'll notice among most of the actors that have played the Doctor is that Doctor Who was their biggest role. You know, this is just a cultural phenomenon. It was for the longest time mostly a British phenomenon, but like I said, this was during the time that this show had gone mainstream. This was really at its peak. The production quality shows really here. I mean, going through the cinematography and the editing. I mean, what did you guys think about that?
Oh yeah, like especially on Gallifrey, man. Like whenever we got into the painting and everything, and we actually got to see the Time War. It's like the actual that actually had a real cinematic quality to it. That definitely wasn't just the TV quality. And I mean even that intro where Matt Smith is hanging from the TARDIS and everything. I mean they actually went a little all out there, man. I mean that was actually right. They actually suspended him over London and with a helicopter and everything. You know, it's like you could tell that they actually tried to expand the breadth of what they could do cinematically, because I mean they did actually show this in some cinemas whenever it came out, concurrent with the BBC broadcast. So.
Yeah. I watched it at home, but this did hit some theaters, and that was really cool. And that's kind of why I wanted to pick it, because it's not quite feature length, but I do believe it's a longer Doctor Who episode, and
it's close enough. Yeah,
I think it's at least an hour, and it does have, like you said, this kind of the cinematic quality. I mean, the Matt Smith era, or really when Stephen Moffat took over, it was kind of the landmark of when the show's budget really jumped up. But it's really, and again, in full effect here. They really went all out with it. And the effects just look really, really good. Both the practical effects and the visual effects.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the Daleks and everything. Like, I mean, they actually made them look really, really menacing in these scenes and everything. And just also kind of showing how the Daleks and the Time Lords were kind of, they kind of fought each other into a little bit of a trench warfare scenario almost, where they were kind of at a stalemate. And honestly, the only way that it could have really ended was the War Doctor intervening and everything the way that he did, and they having to commit that genocide.
Or what the Doctors ended up doing instead, right?
Or what they did instead, where they chose not to.
And it's something that really they only could have done with the three of them there, because the Doctor himself by himself wasn't able to, and also only at the insistence of Clara. She was the catalyst. The Doctor was all three Doctors were ready to commit this act, even though they had managed to, even though they had managed to make Earth avoid such a situation. They really felt that there was no other solution, that again this was sort of a fixed point, and that what has to be done not only needed to be done to save many lives, because the Doctor's regret would turn him into the man that he is today, but also just preserving the timeline and whatnot, but finding a way around that with the 11th Doctor's experience and Clara's insistence that he not go through with it, I thought was really cool. And I think that's why both 10 and War kind of acknowledge Clara as the catalyst, kind of the safe hands that the Doctor is in. Again, some fans might feel that's a bit controversial, but I thought it was a nice touch, because it shows that there are points where the Doctor needs humanity. There's an earlier David Tennant episode, or actually it's an episode late in David Tennant's run, where he's traveling without a companion for an episode, and he's been traveling for without a companion for a while, and it actually leads him to some dark places. He starts thinking that because he's the sole remaining Time Lord, he basically has free dominion over time and can do whatever he wants, and he needs a little reminder that that little bit of humanity is necessary for him.
Absolutely. And I mean, isn't that pretty much what the point of the companions are, like, in general?
Yeah.
Throughout the series, more or less, is kind of to be that representative for humanity to the Doctor.
Exactly. And in the classic series, they toyed around with it a little bit. There were some non-human companions. There were companions from different planets. There were robots, companions from different periods of history, both in the past and the future. I wish Modern Who would do some more of that, but it is telling that the majority of companions in Doctor Who's run were contemporary humans. Of whatever time that the show appeared in. So and interestingly enough, the Doctor actually kind of seems to have a sort of synchronicity with contemporary Earth, where he keeps returning to this timeline. Whatever the current year is that the show is being broadcast in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that little bit of humanity is necessary. And again, the companion is sort of a stand-in for the audience, as someone to go on the adventures with the Doctor. There's another character that's introduced in this episode who does show up in later episodes, and that's Osgood. She's kind of a fan favorite, actually, because she's sort of a stand-in for the fans of the franchise. She's the character that... she has kind of this like fascination, obsession with the Doctor. She even kind of wears the scarf like the Fourth Doctor did, and I thought she was a fun character just because of that. Are you sciencey?
Yeah, no, I felt her there. She was interesting, I mean, and you kind of have to have that little bridge to the fans and everything,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, this is she's one of us,
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, this was definitely written for the fans. That's why I say it's an interesting entry point to the franchise, but I think it does do a good job. It maybe with just like I showed you guys a little bit of context at showing these characters and what they're capable of, and it really covers all the bases. This is an episode that covers every setting the Doctor Who explores, whether that's contemporary Earth, sci-fi, or history.
Yeah,
with with intricate plot that involves the Time War, the Daleks, the Time Lords, the Zygons, Elizabeth in England, and modern day Earth.
It's a lot to remember in the show.
Wow. There's a lot to remember.
I'm just taking it all in.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very lore-heavy show. Yeah,
there was a lot I had to explain to you guys as we were watching this episode, and even some of the other episodes, where I was like, okay, so the explanation with this is this, and blah 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 blah, and oh, that's Tom Baker. We don't know why Tom Baker is just showing up in this scene. By the way, he just does, but that is him, the Fourth Doctor.
Yeah, I was I think I was telling you, it's like watching like a Lost episode. I'm just don't know what I'm watching really. I'm just like lost watching it.
It's like watching Lost like midway through like season 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm so confused, but it's cool as shit though. Look.
Yeah. And it does do a good job, I think, of introducing the Time War, which is again this plot point that had been carried through the early seasons of Modern Who, but never shown in detail. Here we actually kind of get that background in full force, and you get to actually see what it was. But again, guys, at the time, we had to wait 8 years for that. Here's this just name drop of this thing that we weren't sure we were ever going to get to see, that supposedly wiped out all the Time Lords and the Daleks. But not really.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
But is there anything else to touch on here before we wrap it up with our final thoughts?
No, I think we've pretty much touched on everything.
I think so. Well, Robert, we'll go ahead and start with you then. What are your final thoughts on Doctor Who, The Day of the Doctor, and really actually just your thoughts on the show as a whole, having been introduced to it?
Yeah, it's not a bad show. I just wish I could have caught it like right when I was watching like the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits or something,
Yeah.
I was watching more of those back then, I didn't even know this show existed really.
Well, and when you and I when you were visiting me in Houston, we did actually go back and start watching the 2005 series from the pilot on. Yeah. So I kind of got to show you.
And I was like, yeah, the graphics are like the old Twilight Zone from like the restart, I guess, of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the Outer Limits that was shown on Showtime for a little while in the 2000s.
Like, exactly. Yeah. It had that feeling to it. It's like they revamped it again for the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Or Poltergeist: The Legacy.
Yeah. It had that. Well, the special effects, you can tell they were just like sci-fi made for TV stuff, and I love that stuff, man.
Oh, very much, yeah.
I love watching that stuff. Any chance I can get too.
For sure.
Especially from that sweet spot in the mid 2000s and everything, where they were still really just trying to develop those types of CGI graphics into something a little better. Yeah.
Kind of like what we see with the the Asylum films, like some of the early days, like those graphics. Those graphics are cool.
Full Moon.
Yeah, the Full Moon features. Yeah, I love that stuff. I don't know.
And this is a series that, due to its nature and its mostly standalone episodes, you really can enter from a lot of different points. You can almost watch just about any episode of Doctor Who that isn't a multi-part story and just start from there. This is one of those that's going to be a little bit more lore heavy and rely on some other stuff that had been built up over the past 8 years of the show and the 50 years of the show overall. But again, it also does kind of work as an entry point. And really, I mean, this is the show that you can kind of start wherever you like now. You don't just strictly have to start with the modern series or strictly start with the classic series. I mean, you can kind of just be like, okay, yeah, I want to start with this Doctor.
Yeah.
And just kind of start from that run. What I usually like to do is show them an episode like Blink. And just one of the really good episodes to kind of show you where this show goes. And then go back and start from the beginning of a Doctor's run. That's usually kind of my recommendation for that.
I think I was telling you, like, it would be even funnier if they all three of them started pointing at each other like Spider-Man.
Yes,
like the meme, dude. I'm like, dude, that'd be even funnier.
I need to see that meme. I have a lovely meme saved on my phone of David Tennant and Matt Smith with the dick in the box. I showed you guys that.
No. Oh, wow.
But all right, Bo, what about you? Thoughts on The Day of the Doctor and Doctor Who as a whole?
Well, as I said before, this has always been a real blind spot for me. And I've always been aware of Doctor Who. It's always just kind of been in the background, It's just, when I was a kid, I got more into like Mystery Science Theater 3000 or old school anime more than stuff like that. But from what I see of this modern run, I mean, yeah, I totally get why people get into the lore and they get into the character of the Doctor. And also they get into who's actually playing the Doctor, because that's very much... that pretty much determines the feel of that particular iteration, like with Matt Smith or with David Tennant or Capaldi or all of them or McGann. It's like, I mean, that's even more so than with other television shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe Mystery Science Theater 3000 is probably a good analog there, because, I mean, a lot of the people that had two different hosts, and even though they had this had three different hosts by now, and even though they all have very different qualities to them, it's like, I mean, they're still very much loved as a whole and everything. So I kind of can see that with Doctor Who and whatnot.
Yeah.
But as far as this episode is concerned, this was a really, really interesting entry point into this franchise, because like I said, we're getting like two of the best of the modern Doctors, at least what they could get, I mean, they didn't get Christopher Eccleston, and Peter Capaldi had yet to resurface as the Doctor.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's a great way to kind of get a feel for both of those different iterations, and then the War Doctor is something that's a little newer. It's something that's a little more weary and grounded, even.
Yeah,
and Clara is an interesting companion who, in many ways, is almost kind of a MacGuffin in her own right, sort of. Yeah, in certain ways, and. Also, I mean, the moment Billie Piper playing that character, that was interesting. Of course, I don't have any real. I never saw any of the episodes where she played Rose, so I don't have any real jumping off point from there. But
one with her, which was the girl in the fireplace, but she.
Oh, that was the one. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, her and Mickey are technically his companions, but he spends more time with. What's her face, Madame de Pompadour, than anything in that episode.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, even then, that still doesn't give me a big jumping off point for her. But I mean, the moment, she was quite interesting. And of course, I mean, come on, John Hurt. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
What a legendary bookend to what a great bookend to a legendary career there. I mean,
for real.
and he really brought a lot of gravitas to the role. You know, I mean, he really played the whole war weary, you know, forgotten by time doctor and everything. You know, like he played that role well.
Yeah,
and everything. And so, yeah, I mean, I can see why this series is well beloved by people, and I might go, and yeah, I can definitely start getting into it a little more often, you know. So yeah, Ash, maybe next time you come down, maybe we'll watch a little more of like maybe David Tennant's first season or something like that. I don't know. I'll give it a chance.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. Or maybe we can go back and just start from the beginning with Eccleston, because Eccleston is the doctor that everybody wants to skip because they just want to get to the David Tennant stuff, but it is worth it. Some of the best episodes in the series, namely the Empty Child, with the introduction of John Barrowman as Jack Harkness, and just a really phenomenal story. Matt Smith's first story. Oh God, that is a great episode. That is one I almost wanted to show you guys, but I just felt that throwing Eccleston in, you know, wasn't really necessary. I wanted to focus on 10th and 11th Doctor stories. But yeah, I would love to show you guys more of this series. I'm currently watching Series 15 or Season 2, if you want to follow the new rebranding. Technically, the 2023 series is now considered its own, which is being published by Disney Plus, or produced by Disney Plus. With Ncuti Gatwa, that's actually currently airing. There's an episode out now. Maybe we can watch that, Robert, and see the latest Doctor Who episode, which just came out yesterday.
Really? Okay.
After this. But as for my final thoughts, I mean, I talked about my love of Doctor Who. This is one of my special interests. It's a franchise I really love. Just a really good fandom, one of those fandoms that never really got out of control. They can be cringe, but you kind of can't help but join that you know, get on their level with it, because this is a show that, like, you could show anybody an episode of Doctor Who, and I think that they're going to jive with it. And this episode in particular really it shows, you know, some of these actors at their best. You know, David Tennant and Matt Smith just are giving fantastic performances. They really needed to. What's interesting is that at the points in their respective timelines, both doctors had kind of become a little bit more serious and dramatic, and had lost a little bit of that lightheartedness that they had in their early seasons. And it's a kind of interesting that they both sort of recaptured that at this time, which we sort of needed, I think, for that fan connection. But as I said before, I mean, this was kind of the no way home of modern Doctor Who, and it was really, really exciting. You know, you kind of just had to be there while the show was coming out. And I'm glad that I hopped on board the show right when this was coming out, because I mean, I was just so ready for this, and I was so excited when it came out, and I rewatched it multiple times. This was at the end, you know, this was kind of in between seasons. So we had the 50th special, and then we had to wait until Christmas for the Christmas special, which was Matt Smith's final episode. And then we had to wait longer for Peter Capaldi's first season. So yeah, there was a lot of waiting, but it was worth it, man. This was really when my love of Doctor Who was at its peak too. You know, it was a while actually before I even went back and watched all of the Peter Capaldi stuff. For some reason, I had dropped off, and now he's one of my favorites. I dreaded going into the 13th Doctor era, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Fuck the haters. I actually love what Russell T Davies is doing with the show now, having brought back David Tennant for a couple specials or for a few specials, and with Ncuti Gatwa. But yeah, man, again, really what really sells this is the camaraderie between these characters, the addition of John Hurt, and just that, you know, demeanor. Are you capable of talking without flapping your hands about? Yes, no.
Southern Italians do that.
You've just captured the spirit every single one of these characters so well. And it's really, really awesome. And I would love to explore this franchise more with you guys in the future. Like we could do the 1990s TV movie, or we could even maybe do one of the Peter Cushing movies, which sort of occupy their own canon, where the Doctor is actually named Doctor Who. He's a character with the surname who's a human. Fun fact, apparently there was a deleted scene where they were going to acknowledge the Peter Cushing films as in-universe films that were based on the memoirs of the Doctor's former companions, Ian and Barbara. And I'm kind of sad that they didn't make that nod. I think maybe there was a rights issue.
Yeah. I saw that on one of the reviews that I was watching. Yeah.
I think we might have watched the same review, yeah. Because this was my first time hearing that too.
Must have been a Roger Corman thing.
Yeah, right.
But man, I'd love to go back and watch one of the Peter Cushing Doctor Who films also. Or there's a lot of different episodes we could talk about from the series. So I'm open to exploring this franchise in the future with you guys. Or maybe we can do something kind of like a director's cut where we review a few different episodes or rank episodes or Doctors.
I'm gonna go buy some action figures now.
Yeah, or the sonic screwdriver props.
Screwdriver, let's get them all, dude. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Them all, collect them all.
But yeah, I mean, having my two favorite Doctors at the time and introducing a new Doctor who instantly captured my heart the way that these two had over the course of years was awesome. And I love the Day of the Doctor. Again, it's my favorite Doctor Who episode. This and Blink are just really just cream of the crop for me. This is good stuff. Yeah, I know that it's all nostalgia and fan bait, but I love it. God damn it! For the same reason I love Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah.
Or Deadpool and Wolverine, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
But I would even say that the script in this is actually pretty good on its own. You know, even if you take all the fan stuff out, there's a lot left that's really a lot of fun. And yeah, it was really awesome. Getting to watch this with the lens of the fact that this was over 10 years ago when this came out. God, that makes me feel old, because I mean the show has already had its 60th anniversary since, and just thinking, wow, God, I was watching this over a decade ago in real time when it came out.
Fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, no kidding. The BBC doesn't plan to stop anytime soon. They have full plans to move forward with a 100th anniversary special.
Awesome.
I mean, just imagine.
That is awesome. Damn, that's crazy.
So yeah, guys, this was a fun episode to go, and I loved having another one to just kind of spurg out on and get into one of my special interests. Had a couple of those this season. Bo, I think next time we are doing Mean Girls. Is that right?
Yes, we are doing Mean Girls, and I believe that we are going to have a few people on there. I don't really remember who it is, but we're going to have a couple of podcasts on that one.
Nice.
I just forgive me. I think Mike, and Oscar might be on there, although I might be. I might be mistaken. I'll have to check my notes and everything.
Fuck yeah, that was another one of my picks.
Oh, I actually wrote another short, dude.
Oh,
yeah, nice,
Robert.
dude.
It's not Texas Sundown 2, though.
Oh. So we got some news from the director, filmmaker, Robert Ortegon.
Hell yeah.
Right here, live on the podcast. Not live, but you know what I mean.
Live, but in person.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, that is what's up. Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Of course, after Mean Girls is going to be our season finale, the Redux on the Room. Really, really happy.
Actually, we got one more episode before that. We have Rocky 4.
Oh, I forgot about Rocky 4, man. We're still doing that.
Should and throw that on too.
Exactly.
I do have Mean Girls here too.
Nice.
So I should probably just put both those on.
Awesome.
Yeah, we should, man.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah.
And on Collateral Gaming, we did just get out our Game Lunch review late on Assassin's Creed Shadows. I wanted to go ahead and get that out now so that we can move on to Oblivion Remastered, which was a Shadow drop. Recorded that with my friend and returning guest, Ian. So if that's not out already at the time of recording, that'll be out very soon. I expect that should be out. And then we should actually finally have our bad game content, which is going to be Hong Kong 97 and Bubsy 3D. And then what was actually planned for May was a 2-part episode on Bushido Blade. So hopefully we can get all that out by the end of May so that we can be ready for the season finale in June. We're going to have a 2-part episode covering the Switch 2 release, starting with a game launch review on Mario Kart World and followed up with a general console review / launch lineup review of the Switch 2. And I'm so excited. I have my Switch pre-ordered and I'm going to be picking it up June 5th and going to be having a lot of fun with Megan and Zach and also Dan from Victims and Villains going over that.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. But hell yeah, man. I mean, I can't wait for the Room Redux episode as well. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We should also have out a game launch review on Doom, The Dark Ages. I started playing it. It's so fucking good. I'd like to get a bonus round episode before that on Doom Eternal, since we covered 2016 and that was kind of the whole. And as far as other game launch reviews go, I know Elden Ring Night Rain is coming out, so we'll cover that too. Lot of content coming from Collateral Gaming, especially with new releases. Hopefully with Collateral Cinema, we can do some at the movies stuff. I wanted to cover the Minecraft movie. Maybe it's not too late to do that and call it a collab once we get through our backlog.
Probably. There was another movie that was coming out soon that I thought that would be a good idea to talk about, but I don't remember which one it was, though.
Definitely want to do Fantastic Four and Superman, and those are coming in July, I think.
Yeah, and then the Superman movie too.
Yeah, in August there's the new Toxic Avenger movie.
Yes, we have to cover that.
I want to go to the movies and see that. Damn.
Definitely, dude. Yeah, no, we got to go to the theaters.
Guys, we need to go. Let's plan a trip to go to the movies together and watch that.
That'd be like our first trauma movie on the damn screen. Right? Like,
yeah,
that'd be sick.
Right?
Ooh,
exactly.
Man, yeah. There's so much coming, guys, and we're gonna jump into it. You can also find our podcast on all podcast platforms. We are on Good Pods, where you can help us rise up the ranks. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube, where we also have our Collateral Let's Play channels, or Collateral Let's Play episodes on both the Collateral Cinema and Collateral Gaming YouTube channels. The only series I've been doing consistently right now is Call of Duty Saturdays about every couple weeks or so. But very soon here, maybe in the postseason, we can start pre-recording some Phoenix Wright Wednesday episodes and get back on that.
Hell yeah, man. We got to get back on Phoenix Wright. I mean, we're still on we're still on the second case, aren't we?
Yeah. So
yeah, we need to get through that.
And we got some positive feedback on those episodes. I know. I think the Vern. I think it was the Vern who said that he really enjoyed our Let's Play.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's the voices. We got to do the voices, man.
The voices, yeah. That's a lot of fun getting together and doing that with you guys.
Robert, you got to get in on it, bro.
And if you want to support the show, check out our merch store on Dashery at TeePublic. We'll have that in the show notes, but that's collateralmedia.dashery.com, and get you some Collateral Media swag. I ordered 3 shirts myself, and I love them. They're my favorite shirts right now. I wear them all the time. And also, you can buy us a coffee on Buy Me a Coffee. And while we haven't uploaded much to our Patreon while we haven't uploaded anything to our Patreon in quite a while, we do have a Patreon as well, where you can support the show and get access to exclusive full-length movie commentaries and exclusive Let's Plays that you won't see on our YouTube channel for free.
Yeah.
So, anything else to add, Bo?
No, we should be doing an episode on the Conversations with Robbie Sherman podcast. That's going to be on Lupin the Third: Voyage to Danger. And I just did a episode with the Gaming Theater podcast not too long ago, and I think that episode released. It was on movie tie-in games. That was interesting. So yeah, look for that on all the podcast apps.
And you didn't include Collateral Gaming. Shame on you.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Well, in a sense, Bo, you kind of repped both podcasts.
I did, yeah.
But
for the most part.
Yeah, guys, I'm really excited for what we've got coming up. I'm really excited for the next season. We're already planning it, and we've got a lot of bangers headed your way. And I'm even thinking about next season. I told you guys one of my ideas for that.
Yeah, I still need to come up with my list too. Damn it. It's all right.
Yeah,
we got time.
Straight up. Yeah, we got plenty of time. Yeah, well, Robert, it does kind of take you a while to get your list together.
Yeah, I do my best work last minute.
Straight up. That's what's up.
But I suppose with all that being said, I've been the 10th Doctor.
I'm the 11th Doctor.
And I'm just chiropractor.
God damn it, Robert, you need to be the War Doctor.
Bo, I was going to peg you as the War Doctor because you're the one that's just tired of me and Robert's shit.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, yeah, I'm the War Doctor. I'm just like, what are you two idiots talking about now?
So that leaves you as 11, Robert. Have sex.
The 11th. Okay, I'll have sex all day.
Have sex.
Hell yeah, guys. This has been Collateral Cinema, and we are out.
Ouch.
Howdy.
Collateral Cinema is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and movie clips are owned by the respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.